All right, so in this graph, we're going to go ahead and graph cotangent. So one of the first things we look for is the fact that, just to remind ourselves that cotangent of x looks like y equals x, so negative x to the 3. Whereas tangent, the regular tangent looks like x to the 3, cotangent looks like negative x to the 3. So that means just the base graph is going to look like this right here. Okay. One of the main differences between cotangent and tangent is that cotangent's phase shift, which is its starting point, is the left asymptote. Okay. So one of the first things we're going to look for right here is we'll look for the period though. So for the period, we're going to take 1 pi and we're going to divide it by the number that's in front of theta. Well, the number in front of theta is 1/3. So we take 1 pi and we divide it by 1/3, which is pi times 3/1, which is 3 pi. Okay. Now in this case, we look at our graph, and how I've set up the graph is that each pi represents 2 boxes, so 3 pi would represent 6 boxes. Okay. So our entire period for one cycle of this graph will be 6 boxes in length. Okay. And then with frequency, remember frequency is really easy. So this is 3 pi over 1, so the frequency would be 1 over 3 pi. Okay, the next thing we're going to look for is we're going to look for the phase shift, which, like I said, is your starting point and is the left asymptote of your graph. So if we go like this, theta over 3 plus pi over 2, set that equal to 0. We'll go ahead and we'll minus the pi over 2. We have theta over 3 equals negative pi over 2. We'll multiply by 3. And then we'll end up getting theta is equal to negative 3 pi over 2. So that means my starting point, if I look at that, is going to be 3 boxes to the left. So we start 3 boxes left. Okay. So let's check that out. So we'll start right here. Okay. Now remember, our starting point is not the midpoint, it's an asymptote. So I'll go ahead and do this right here. It's my left asymptote. I will go 6 boxes over, and I will have my right asymptote. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And when I go over 6 boxes, I'm just going over 3 pi. If you were to add 3 pi to negative 3 pi over 2, you would get positive 3 pi over 2. Okay? Now, the midpoint between these two asymptotes, just like in tangent, okay, your starting point ended up being the midpoint between the two asymptotes, whereas in cotangent, the starting point is the left asymptote. So I will start right here. Now, right now, what I'm graphing is I'm graphing this right here. Okay? I'll take into account the 4 like I did on the last tangent graph, and then after I'm done with all of that, the last thing I'll do is I'll move all the points down 1. Okay? So if I look at this and I know that the graph looks like this right here, okay, then I know that I'm 1, 2, 3 boxes over. I'll go over a box and a half, and I'll go down 1 box, and I'll put a dot here. Remember, I'm not graphing that 4 yet. Then I'll go a box and a half over here, and I'll go up to 1. Okay? So now once I have that, I'm going to look at my y coordinates, and I'm going to figure out which ones, when I multiply, like what will happen. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do this 4 right here. So if I take this negative 1, and I multiply it by 4, I'm down here at negative 4. If I take this y value, which is 0, multiply it by 4, doesn't change it at all. If I take this y value, which is 1, multiply it by 4, I'm right here. Okay, so now I've graphed that. And the last thing that I'm going to do, and I'm going to go ahead and do it in blue, actually green, is I'm going to move all of my points down 1. So this is my point, that's my point, and this is my point right there. So this one moves down 1 because of this right here. This one will move down 1. And this one will move down 1. Okay? So when I graph that, notice it will curve closer to the asymptote, but it will not touch the asymptote. And that's how you graph cotangent.